This is gonna get deep. You guys asked some deep questions. If I'm gonna be honest, it's opening up to people, being vulnerable, either because I have my guard up or because I care about what other people think. So it's easier to just not let anyone in, right? Today I'm gonna fix that. I am going to open up to the internet and answer all of your questions about me, so let's go. I'm nervous. Let's start with something easier. Like, where am I? I am back in Saudi Arabia. Just for like a day. I'm just transiting and I go to Sudan. I fly tonight to Sudan, but I have a very long journey, like layover and whatnot. So I don't know. I feel like I'm never actually gonna arrive. This is the tent I'm testing out. So why am I here? It's because of this little guy. I have rescued him from his second detainment in the last few months. Once again, he's back. You know, he was in Egypt in Port Safaga, and they would not let me leave with it unless I took another cargo ship. So I took another boat and came back to Saudi, and I'm flying to Sudan. This guy, oh my God. I mean, I love my drone shots, so, and I hope you guys do too. So I hope this is worth it, because it's been a very stressful journey with him. Or maybe I'm just not a good drone mom, but the first time he was detained was in Afghanistan with the Taliban. Other question, why did you leave Egypt? I went to Morocco, and the reason I went to Morocco is friends. So a friend of mine was having a birthday/wedding there. Here are some pictures of that lovely weekend. Oh, that was my friend riding in on a camel. I also hiked up a mountain because I haven't done much hiking recently or much training for anything at all. So I'm very unfit and I'm not happy about that. This is Mount Tubkal. It's the highest peak in North Africa, but you know, North Africa is a desert, by the way, so it's like 4,200 meters about. The highest I've ever been is Mount Kilimanjaro, which is close to 6,000, which that is pretty high. That's pretty high. This was definitely challenging though. I must be in worse shape now. So I think this was the question that was asked the most. Tell us everything about yourself. And my reaction was, what do you want to know? All right, let's get started. I'm going to try and summarize my life story right now. This is me. I was born on December 22nd, 1990, with hair like Elvis Presley. I'll do the math for you. I'm 32 right now. That feels weird to say. These are my parents. They are immigrants from India, from the state of Tamil Nadu. My dad is from Chennai and my mom is from Salem. My mom and dad immigrated to America right before I was born. Oh, and they named me this, Vijayalakshmi Parthasarathi. I was not happy. As you can see, I took my rage out on my mom's eyeliner. Seriously, I hated my name. Growing up, you know, sometimes all you want is to just fit in, and my name did not fit in at all. And you know, it's the first thing that you have to say when you introduce yourself. I was just like super self-conscious about it for so many years. I hated introducing myself to people. It's crazy. The thing is, when you dislike something about yourself, there's only two things you can do. Change it, or change your perspective on it. The irony of it all is that Lakshmi is a super common name in India. But for me, it was strange, super strange. In the end, I think it is the reason why I became more comfortable with being different. Because legally, it's very difficult to change your name. So I had no choice. Oh, this was an answer to the question about why I get so excited whenever I see my name in India. I apologize, but for me, it is very, very exciting. Someone asked me if I feel more Indian or American, and definitely American is the answer because I was born there, I spent my entire life there. I didn't step foot in India until I was 19, 20. Due to various struggles and constraints of immigrant life in America, yeah, I never set foot in India until I was like 19, 20. It's kind of crazy, right? And I also didn't know any Indian kids growing up other than my brother. So, yeah. That being said, my home life had a distinct Indian flavor to it. I think every immigrant child can understand this feeling of walking the line of two cultures for your whole life, having this sort of culture barrier with your parents, and also not being able to describe and talk about your home life with your peers, and so you never fully connect with them because there's massive differences in what their life and your life is like once that school bell rings. Like, we went to temple and did pujas, and I just didn't really talk about it. I think also you become a little bit of the parent sometimes as a child because you know the language. You actually can navigate this new world better than your parents because you were born in it. So it's a very interesting dynamic. You know, something that would really stay with me for a long time is the fact that my mother had an arranged marriage, and so she lived with her parents up until she was married, and then she was like transferred ownership, so to speak, and so she never had a period of independence, never had her own life, and this was something that would like stick in my mind, and it would drive me to seek out freedom and independence. That was my one and only focus. I was not cool in high school, but I think that's good. I think if you're cool in high school, then there's a much more likely chance that you peak in high school. Oh my god, I can't find the sleeves. I don't know if they should have accepted me. No. So, I mean, I was always like very, very motivated as a kid. I liked a lot of different things. I liked art, reading, writing, math, science, and I threw myself into all of it. I was a shy kid, but I was also the lead in school plays. So I was always like doing a bunch of different things as much as I could within like the constraints of my life. So the TLDR is that I did well in school. I was valedictorian of my high school, and I did very, very well in the SATs. But I didn't come from the traditional background of somebody that goes to an Ivy League school. My high school had a 50% dropout rate. We didn't have a lot of money, but I was good at searching for opportunities. So I had a goal, and it was to get out. It was to get out of New Bedford and be financially independent as soon as I left, at the age of 17. I was very strategic about it. Maybe I did peak in high school. But anyway, I ended up getting into all but one of the top tier schools that I applied to, and I got a full scholarship to Harvard, and I took that, and then the next chapter of my life began. Okay, so what was Harvard like? It is one of the most prestigious universities in the world, so everyone does ask this question. I had a love-hate relationship with Harvard. You know, it gave me so many opportunities, and I'm really grateful to be able to go there, of course. And I loved being around so many like smart, motivated kids who were like really passionate about learning, which was not the environment that I had in high school, so that was so exciting. But it was also very stressful. It's a lot of very like ambitious, neurotic, overachievers all put in one room. And, you know, I think if I were to go back in time and do it over again, I think I would enjoy it better. But going into it, I was still like very like wide-eyed and didn't really know how to navigate that whole world. There's definitely a lot of kids that go into Harvard like already knowing many people, so they already have their friend group formed, and they're definitely from very, very, very different backgrounds. So, you know, you meet kids who grew up in like the top tier of society, and it gives you this like completely warped view of what society is. Though this part is not so good, I think, because, you know, this world becomes your world. Sometimes like you forget what the world outside of that is like, and that's not a good thing, you know. So I'm like really happy that I grew up in not in like an elitist prep school. But the friends that I made at Harvard, I love. They're some of my favorite people, and hope I will keep in touch with them forever. I studied computer science and like thought about majoring in 100 different things. So I thought about going to med school, but then I didn't want to be the cliche brown girl. No, I actually just couldn't do medical school. I was not ready to commit to that. And, you know, I think now I'm happy about it. But it took me a very, very long time. There was a lot of back and forth because I've always wanted to do something that like impacts people directly, and you know that is medicine. But man, med school is long, and working within the medical system, especially in the United States, can be like I don't know if I could do it. I would not like it. Yeah. So I took my first programming class at Harvard, CS50, and I loved it. I was like, this is so cool. I can just like make things happen on my computer. Yeah, and you know, I always kind of liked like math, science. I thought I was gonna do engineering, but then computer science was a lot more flexible, and I really liked it. I had so much fun sitting behind my computer screen for a while. What inspired me to travel? All right, well, so when I was a kid, I definitely like wanted to be an explorer. But then I realized that, you know, the world is already explored. There is like nothing left on the map. But when my freshman year summer, I got the opportunity to go abroad. And, you know, if you could pick any place in the world, where would you go? I chose Ghana in Africa, which like I had never been on a plane. And I had never stepped foot out of the northeast of America. Like this was my entire world. And I took this like 14-hour flight all the way to Accra, Ghana, and spent 6 weeks in this like little town, middle of nowhere in North Ghana called Hohoe. And you know what? I loved it. I loved every part of my trip to Ghana. It was just such an adventure. Everything was new. And after, when I went on a little Euro trip to like France and did like, you know, the more normal travel thing, I was bored. And so, you know, my love of traveling to off the beaten track places, you know, was born there. And I guess my love of traveling in general. And so after that, I kind of just took every opportunity that I could to travel. And when I was 20, I then spent a semester traveling from Cairo all the way to Cape Town. So I've actually been to a lot of places in Africa. This is my favorite continent. It will always mean so much to me because it like kicked off my crazy travels. But you know, now I'm here in Sudan, and I've never been to Sudan because when I was doing that 10 years ago, I could not get the visa. So this is exciting. Yeah, so when I was like in my late teens, early 20s, I was doing stuff like hitchhiking from Turkey to Iraq, sleeping in bus stations in Kenya. I don't know. I didn't have any money then, so it was like a little crazy. And now I'm doing the same stuff, so kind of coming full circle, I guess. So I have more money now to travel, but I missed the way that I traveled before and all like the crazy stuff that happened. It was like such an adventure. So I've taken myself back to a different travel style, a more simplistic, minimalist, raw travel style, and I like that. It's more me. So after I finally graduated from school with a computer science degree, I got a job at Google in New York City, and I was doing that for about 3 years. Living the city life. I lived with my friends from college, and it was a lot of fun. I can't complain. It was a comfy lifestyle. Google food is, oh my God, amazing. And I ate there all the time. I even like took food home because they let you do that. So I would take home food for the weekends, and I literally just never ate out. So I was really good at saving money. If there's one thing I learned from my family, it's that. So I saved quite a bit during those years in New York, and I enjoyed life, but I knew that it was like never the thing I wanted to do. Comfort just doesn't like appeal to me at the end of the day. So it's like nice in the moment, but then I'm just not really happy with it. So the office life, the like 9 to 5 office life was always just a constant like, okay, but like, I don't know. Yeah. So then I quit. One day, actually this is a very funny story. After deliberating for some time about quitting, I had like a couple of drinks at a happy hour, and then I went back to my apartment where I had a Google Home. It's like an Alexa. And then I asked my Google Home, I was like, hey Google, should I quit Google? And guess what? It said, sure. I was like, what? And I asked it again, and it said like the same thing. And I was like, oh my God, this is the sign. This is the sign I've been waiting for. So I went in the next day and I quit. And I told my manager this too. I told my manager the story. I wrote about it in my goodbye email. So it actually became a meme internally, and it went viral internally. I wrote a Medium article. Maybe I'll put a link somewhere. And then I quit. I booked a one-way ticket to Tunisia, and I was like, peace. Peace, New York. You know, all of the I quit my job to travel the world stories that you hear are always the ones that turned out great, right? Where everything worked out. But I quit my job to travel the world at that time, and everything fell apart. Yeah. So it was going great at first. I was traveling. I did a little bit of blogging too, which was very new to me. Before, when I traveled, I didn't document anything. I was actually very anti-social media. But now I was doing some writing, which I love, and it was doing well too. People were reading it, and I was meeting all these interesting people through it. And then I got a phone call, you know, the kind of phone call that you never want to get. I remember I was on a cargo boat. I was sailing up the Rio Paraguay in a cargo boat, and there was like this moment of service, and I got a phone call. Like tragedy had struck, or was about to strike, and I needed to rush home to my family. And actually at the time I was like on this river, and then I got off the boat and I snuck into Brazil. Like I snuck back into Brazil, didn't do a border crossing, and then I rushed back home. I found a flight, I rushed back home, and that was the end of that. My life just completely changed. It was a complete 180. I went from like this like complete high of, you know, living this like exciting life that I always wanted to. Like I was, you know, doing a survival trek in the Amazon, like becoming my best Laura Croft, and then suddenly I was back in New Bedford, playing a role of caretaker. The money I had saved to travel, I was now like using to help out, and it was rough. It was hard. And then suddenly, like, I didn't have my job, I didn't have my friends, I didn't have this exciting life, and I kind of shut down. Like, I didn't talk about it because I felt like I couldn't, because I wanted to be there and help. I wanted to be there, but then at the same time, I wanted my life. You know, I was back in New Bedford for over a year. And then when things got better at home, I felt like, you know, that the ship had sailed, that time had passed on like me chasing my dreams of, I don't know, living a different life. I felt like I couldn't do that, and that it was maybe like it was not even right to do, because I was stressed. I would be causing people stress. I wouldn't be able to be there for people. So I ended up going back to New York, and I took a different job. This time I had a startup, and it was pretty cool. It was a cool startup, a really cool startup that my friend started called Free Will. You could make a will for free online, and you could donate to charity very easily through it. And I was one of the early engineers on the team. And I thought, well, you know, this is my life. It's a good life. I should not complain about it. And, you know, I'll date. I'll start, like, settling down. I was, like, 27 then at that point. So I felt like, you know, the coming of age had come and gone, so to speak. And it was time for me to just stay put. And then... fast forward, we had a pandemic. I'm sure we all remember those days as all of the borders were starting to close down. So the United States was had given like 72 hours before borders would close. So there were all these people like trying to fly back and come home. I was sitting in my apartment in New York, like reading, doing a lot of research, listening to de Blasio, the mayor of New York, talking about how New York will never shut down, that sort of thing. And the more I was reading, I was thinking, it's going to shut down. It's definitely going to shut down. And so, long story short, at 3 a.m., I booked a flight to Colombia. I saw this as an opportunity for me to get out. I thought, okay, I know I'm going to have to quarantine somewhere. Where should I quarantine? I did feel bad about traveling and getting on a flight during pandemic, but there were so many people flying, and the flight I was boarding was full, and the Airbnb I booked too, the woman messaged me and said, I'm so happy everyone canceled all of the reservations, like I need this to feed my family. And I thought, okay, well, I guess I am committed, and I took this flight to Colombia, and that kicked off my remote work phase. After that, I never returned to the United States to live. I returned to visit, and that's about it. And for a couple of years, like 2.5 years, something like that, I worked remotely full time while also traveling. I went from Colombia to like Peru, to Congo, to Tanzania. But the thing is, like, I wanted to travel like I did before, you know, and to travel to these places that really don't have great internet and are difficult to work from, like Afghanistan. And I thought, you know, I want to see what else I can do. Like, I want to do something creative. I like traveling and doing things that no one else wants to do. So maybe I can somehow make that a part of what I do for a living. So that would be very cool. That would be my dream. So I know everyone wants to know about money. You know, I saved a lot while I was working, and I also built a crypto donation platform that was bought by my old company. I was working double time while investing. So I've kind of bought my freedom and financial independence for at least a while. And you know, I'm not here to give financial advice, though. When it comes to markets, you know, get in while things are down with money that you're able to lose. But, you know, at a time like this, I might be like dollar cost averaging into the market. That's all I'll say. But yeah, I chased freedom and independence in my life. It does come at the cost of other things, though. So, yeah. There's definitely a chance that I go back to software engineering and this turns into a sabbatical of sorts. But, you know, I also see this like sense of disillusionment that I have with technology in general that I can't shake. You know, we already have so much technology at our fingertips. Like, we have little computers in our pockets now. I feel like now more of the problem is like, we need to be actually like consuming less. So, you know, with software engineering, it was always like, oh, we need to build something like faster, more efficient, and that was like, you know, always the goal. I feel like I'm moving towards this desire of a more like simple life, a more minimalist life. I'm still addicted to my phone, but you know, I see a lot of the harm that also comes with the technology that we keep building, and like, I'm like, well, what is the point of it? You know, I actually just feel like what we need more of is like less. We need less. I don't know how to like put it, but hopefully people understand what I'm saying. Okay, now for some quick rapid fire questions. How many questions have I been to? How many countries have I been to? Like 60 something? I don't actually love keeping count because I think like the idea of country collecting like defeats the purpose of travel. But at the same time, I have like toyed with the idea recently of trying to visit all the countries. I do think there's something very interesting about, you know, the idea of like, how did this even become a country? Like, looking at a map, there's all these places that I never even knew were countries. But you know, another reason why I don't really like to talk about like country numbers, because with an American passport, it's just, you know, it's easier. I obviously have an advantage. So I don't like that so much. But I do take more pride in like traveling to harder to visit countries. I think that's like a lot more enjoyable and exciting. Do you have an OnlyFans? No, not gonna happen. Single and ready to mingle. I am single, obviously. Am I ready to mingle? Like, not no, but also not like 100. Like, I'm not like actively searching, although maybe I should be since I am 32. But you know, obviously dating is not like my priority as I'm making my way through countries like Afghanistan, Sudan, which is where I am now. Do I ever get sick of traveling? There are definitely moments of exhaustion, and you know, I think one of the downsides to travel is related to the last question, where like maintaining relationships or starting relationships are, you know, how do you do that when you're constantly moving around? And you know, constantly moving around does take its toll. Like in the last week, I slept on a plane, I slept in an airport, I slept outside, I slept on a bus, I slept on a cargo ship, and constantly moving around. It does get tiring, but I also love it. I think there are definitely going to be like periods of time where I find myself just staying in one place longer and chilling and not moving around, so that there's some like balance to the mayhem and chaos. But I love chaos. That's why I'm doing this. Will you write a book on your travels? I love writing. Writing is like my first true love, you know, more so than like speaking directly to a camera. I can put all of my thoughts and feelings on paper and write them to you, but speaking them out loud is much more difficult. And you know, I think there's so much more you can put into a book that is 100% authentic, because there's no cameras at times. You know, some of the most meaningful conversations I've had with people, especially when you consider the fact that I've been traveling in Muslim countries and a lot of women don't want to be put on camera. You know, a lot of these conversations happened off camera, and I write them down. I keep a journal, and I would love to write and put them down on paper for people to read. If I don't write a book, then I hope my drone does, because he's seen a lot. He's traveled more than most Americans. On the topic of drones, someone asked, is it easy for someone who doesn't know how to fly a drone to learn how to? Yeah, it's super easy. I literally bought my drone on Amazon, and then I watched some YouTube videos, and then I went to an open field outside of New York City, or actually like, yeah, right outside New York City, and flew it for the first time all by myself. I will say, terrified, and I think it does take time to like get used to it to the point where you're comfortable flying it everywhere, especially while traveling and taking good shots. I think a lot of my drone footage was honestly not very good in the beginning and for some time, but you know, they kind of fly themselves to some extent. So if you're in a comfortable place with good weather conditions, you know, it has a GPS, you can tell it to return to home. Don't be afraid to get started on flying one of these things. I truly believe we can all be drone pilots if we want to. How do I feel about India? Also love. I really love India. You know, it feels like a second home now. It really does. Even if I am absolutely the worst at any Indian language, it's such an incredible place. Like the sheer amount of diversity, the natural landscape, the everything. It has so much. I love it. Anyway, you know, this video is getting super long. I'm sorry. I hope I didn't bore you. I hope this was interesting. I didn't actually answer all of the questions, so. I tend to be a pretty private person generally, but I wanted to do this, and I hope someone out there enjoyed it. Thanks, guys. Bye.